Happy morning. Hope all of you are enjoying the online classes which are going on. Now let's move ahead with the chapters in Treasure Island. Lesson 7, Long John Silver. Jim eats breakfast and then Mr. Trelawney gives him a note to take to the ship's cook, Long John Silver, at an inn called Spy Glass. Jim is thrilled at this errand, which gives him a chance to look around town and see the ships. However, he is a bit worried about Long John Silver. What if he is the one-legged pirate Billy always watched for back at the Admiral Benbow? Jim's worries disappear when he sees Long John Silver. Silver cannot be a pirate. He is clean, cheerful, and otherwise the complete opposite of the other members of Captain Flint's crew. Jim enters the inn and delivers a note, and as he does this, one of the customers dashes out of the door. Jim recognizes the man as Black Dog, Billy's old crewmate. Long John sends some men to catch Black Dog, who has not paid for the drinks he ordered, but nobody catches him. Long John questions Tom Morgan, a customer who was sitting with Black Dog just before he ran away. Morgan insists that he never saw the man before today. The whole incident makes Jim suspicious, but Silver seems sincerely surprised that a member of the Captain Flint's crew came to his inn. Silver offers to go himself and tell Mr. Trelawney and Dr. Livesey what has happened. The incident seems to strike him funny, and his laughter is so contagious that Jim finds himself laughing too. He is soon convinced that Long John Silver is innocent. Jim and Silver walk together to the Hispaniola, and on the way the old sailor teaches the boy about boats and nautical language. Nautical language means everything related with the boats. By the time they arrive, the two are good friends, and Jim stands by everything Silver says about the strange encounter with Black Dog. Mr. Trelawney and Dr. Livesey listen to Silver's story and decide that nothing can be done about Black Dog. They wish that he had been caught, but they are impressed with Silver's honesty. When Silver leaves to return to the Spy Glass, Dr. Livesey says to Mr. Trelawney, "I don't put much faith in your discoveries as a general thing, but I'll say this, John Silver suits me." Trelawney agrees, saying that Silver is a perfect trump. With that, he cheerfully invites Jim and the doctor to tour the ship. Jim boards the Hispaniola and soon meets the captain, Captain Smollett, who marches into Mr. Trelawney's cabin and announces that he does not like the voyage or the crew or Mr. Trelawney himself. Mr. Trelawney grows offended and almost fires the captain on the spot, but Dr. Livesey stops him. Calmly, the doctor asks the captain to explain what is bothering him. The captain launches into a long list of complaints about the voyage and the crew. He says that he was hired with the understanding that the goal of the journey was secret. Normally he would not mind this, but the crewmen all knew that they are searching for buried treasure. It bothers Captain Smollett that the crew was trusted when he was not, and he dislikes treasure hunts which tend to be dangerous. Also, given the the news of destination leaked out, including the exact details of the island, he suspects that the men leading the expedition are not cautious enough. Next, Captain Smollett complains that he does not like his crew. Mr. Trelawney protests that they are all good sailors. Captain Smollett replies that they probably are, but that he should have been allowed to choose them himself. He does not like the first mate, Mr. Arrow, who seems too friendly with the men. He also dislikes the way the crew has arranged the weapons and the sleeping quarters. The weapons are stored too close to the crewmen. Dr. Livesey encourages the captain to go on, and the captain says that he thinks all the men known to be loyal to Mr. Trelawney should sleep on one end of the ship with the weapons close at hand. Next, we move on to chapter 8, the voyage. The crew spends the whole night preparing to leave on the morning tide. Jim works twice as hard as he has ever worked in his life, but he does not go to sleep when the ship sets sail. Instead, he stays on deck and watches the sailors enjoying the feeling of adventure. As the ship moves on from shore, Long John Silver begins to sing, 15 men on a dead man's chest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum. The rest of the crew joins in, and for a moment Jim has a creepy feeling that he can hear Billy singing along. The voyage goes well. The Hispaniola turns out to be a wonderful ship, and the crew is made up of excellent sailors. Only Mr. Arrow, the first mate, is a problem. He repeatedly gets so drunk that he is unable to fulfill his responsibilities. Over and over, Captain Smollett has to send him to his bunk and take over his work. Nobody can figure out where the mate is getting his liquor, no matter how closely they watch him. Then one night, he simply disappears. Everyone figures that he has fallen overboard and drowned. So there we were without a mate. We had to appoint another. The boatswain, Job Anderson, was a clever seaman, and he served in a way as mate. Mr. Trelawney had been to sea before. This made him very useful, for he often took a watch himself in easy weather. In some ways, Long John Silver is the most impressive man on the ship. Silver is hardly slowed by the fact that he has only one leg. He hops gracefully across the rocking decks, only occasionally using his crutch or grabbing a line he has tied up for steadying himself. Everywhere he goes, he carries his green parrot, named Captain Flint, after the famous buccaneer, on his shoulder. The parrot loves to talk and often squawks, "Pieces of 8, pieces of 8, pieces of 8." Although Mr. Trelawney and Captain Smollett clearly dislike each other, the rest of the men on the ship are happy. The sailors are treated unusually well, as is Jim. There's always enough to eat, and there are often small treats that would not be available on most ships. For example, a barrel of apples is always kept open, and anyone is allowed to grab one whenever he wants. One night, when Jim finishes all of his tasks, he decides to go get a snack. The barrel happens to be almost empty, and he climbs inside to look for an apple. Lulled by the rocking of the boat, Jim falls asleep inside the apple barrel, but soon Long John Silver's voice wakes him up. Jim is about to get up and say hello when he realizes that Silver is saying something terribly disturbing. Jim freezes and listens. So children, shall we try some comprehension questions from chapter 7 and 8? Question 1. Why do you think Long John Silver named his tavern as the Spyglass? Question 2. Is Long John Silver the one-legged man that Billy Bones was talking about? Question 3. Who speaks openly about his dislike of the crew and his bad feeling about the voyage? MCQ time. First one, in Treasure Island, to whom is Jim Hawkins to deliver Trelawney's note at the tavern? Is it Black Dog, or Dr. Livesey, or Long John Silver? Second one, the name of the ship that Trelawney buys is the Dolphin, Hispaniola, or the Beagle? Thank you children, and happy reading the textbook.